Ah, the world is so big. I just had to come and take a look. High in the sky, the evil ancestor, riding on a donkey, appeared leisurely. Meanwhile, the other 6 rulers in the heavens displayed a variety of expressions. Some were amazed, some angry, some dismissive, and some simply smiled calmly. Heh, even the luckiest guy from the world-ending war has shown up, said the ancestor of myriad spirits with a faint smile as he looked at the evil ancestor. Aren't you the myriad spirits and the primordial? You're both here. It's been such a long time, the evil ancestor said, glancing at the primordial divine ancestor and the ancestor of myriad spirits, before turning his gaze to the fire boy and thunder boy not far away. Even fire and thunder are here. Looks like I've stumbled into a peaceful place. Since you know this is our Lord's peaceful place, then hurry up and leave, the fire boy shouted at the evil ancestor. Don't be so dramatic, I'm just passing through, the evil ancestor replied indifferently. However, when his sweeping gaze landed on the slaughter ancestor and demon ancestor, their dumbfounded reactions made both of them speechless. This, aren't you two my little brothers? How did you end up here? The evil ancestor said, somewhat surprised, looking at the two. Did you start wandering around like me? As the evil ancestor spoke, the slaughter ancestor and demon ancestor had already floated in front of him. Big brother, this isn't the place for a chat. Let's go back and talk, said the slaughter ancestor. Go back? No way. There are still many places I haven't been to, the evil ancestor said, and as he spoke, black energy gathered in his hand, forming a map. The map was divided into 2 layers, the lower dimensions and the great thousand worlds. The evil ancestor pointed to several black dots on the map and said, you guys go back first. I'll just take a look around these places and then return. Big brother, if you leisurely wander around the great thousand worlds like this, those 2 over there probably won't agree, the demon ancestor said, glancing at the primordial divine ancestor and ancestor of myriad spirits. What's wrong with that? Hearing the demon ancestor's words, the evil ancestor immediately became furious and pointed at the primordial divine ancestor and ancestor of myriad spirits, shouting, do you think the great thousand worlds is your territory? What's wrong with me walking around? Upon hearing the evil ancestor's harsh tone, the primordial divine ancestor and ancestor of myriad spirits exchanged cold smiles. The slaughter ancestor and demon ancestor, standing by the evil ancestor, twitched their faces slightly, and then the demon ancestor whispered to the evil ancestor, Big brother. The great thousand worlds really is their territory now. Realizing his mistake, the evil ancestor scratched his head, somewhat embarrassed. Look at me, getting old and forgetting these things. I thought the great thousand worlds was ours. Wait, I have an idea. Suddenly, the evil ancestor's eyes lit up. He turned to the primordial divine ancestor and ancestor of myriad spirits and said something that nearly made the other rulers, except for fire and thunder, spit blood. How about this? I'll trade the extraterritorial lands with you for the great thousand worlds. You go to the extraterritorial lands, and we'll come to the great thousand worlds. Yes, I think this is a good idea. That way, I can freely roam the great thousand worlds, the evil ancestor added, his face full of pride, as if he were deeply moved by his own brilliance. This matter is settled. The evil ancestor spoke to the primordial divine ancestor and ancestor of myriad spirits, then turned and instructed the slaughter ancestor and demon ancestor, you two, go ahead and have all the races prepare to move to the great thousand worlds. Oh, and bring that little fool here. I have something to say to him. Hurry. Why are you just staring at me? Big brother, we'd better discuss this more carefully, the demon ancestor said hastily, blushing slightly at the evil ancestor's ramblings. At the same time, he waved his hand through the air, causing the surrounding space to warp. By using the rules, the demon ancestor was able to shift their positions in space to the extraterritorial lands. This method was far superior to any teleportation array. Go back? I'm not going back. Seeing the demon ancestor trying to forcibly send him back to the extraterritorial clan, the evil ancestor immediately began resisting. He reached out with his right hand, and the surrounding space energy gathered into a sheet of paper and a pen. The evil ancestor grabbed the paper and pen and began writing. Seeing the evil ancestor's actions, both the fire and thunder boys were stunned, but the primordial divine ancestor and ancestor of myriad spirits' expressions changed, and they shouted in unison, "Stop him. He's going to alter the time of the entire lesser thousand worlds." During the world-ending war, the primordial divine ancestor and ancestor of myriad spirits had become intimately familiar with the evil ancestor's habits. They knew that he liked to draw on paper, and that his drawings almost always involved altering time. Right now, the evil ancestor clearly intended to slow down the time in the lesser thousand worlds by tens of thousands of times, allowing him to accomplish several times more than anyone else in the same span of real-world time. However, the evil ancestor's actions violated one of the two major taboos of rule modification: concealment. His modifications were done in full view of everyone, making them easily detectable. Once completed, the primordial divine ancestor and the ancestor of myriad spirits could simply reverse it. A true master of rule modification would aim for subtlety, modifying rules in such a way that others never realized anything had changed. Swish, swish, swish. The evil ancestor continued to wave his pen across the paper. With each stroke, he established a new rule for time, slowing the flow of time in the lesser thousand worlds by 100,000 times. Just as the evil ancestor prepared to implement the rule, two figures appeared beside him. These were the primordial divine ancestor and ancestor of myriad spirits. Their hands moved through the space around him, and a rule of confinement was quickly established. Rule modification. Space seclusion. Damn it! The flow of time has actually been altered by the evil ancestor. Upon hearing the demon ancestor's words, the expressions of the primordial divine ancestor and the ancestor of 10,000 spirits darkened. They realized they had been manipulated by the evil ancestor. The evil ancestor's time modification was clearly intentional, but its purpose had been entirely overlooked by the others. Although they suspected the evil ancestor's erratic and unhinged demeanor was hiding something, they hadn't anticipated that the old madman would plan so meticulously, even timing their arrival in the lesser thousand worlds to perfection. Under normal circumstances, the change in temporal rules wouldn't have mattered to the primordial divine ancestor and the ancestor of 10,000 spirits. However, the current situation was different. In the span of what felt like only 10 minutes, they had been separated from the outside world for what equated to several years. Who knows what events had unfolded in those missing years? This uncertainty weighed heavily not only on them, but also on the demon ancestor and the slaughter ancestor. None of them understood why the evil ancestor had manipulated time without informing them beforehand. Holding the same questions, all four rulers, the primordial divine ancestor, the ancestor of 10,000 spirits, the demon ancestor, and the slaughter ancestor, unexpectedly took the same action. They began modifying the rules of confinement set by thunder and fire. Positioned at four separate locations, the four rulers initiated synchronized modifications to the rules. Such an alliance was unprecedented, even during apocalyptic wars. From a certain perspective, this moment represented a unique collaboration. High above, Thunder Boy and Fire Boy observed the sudden cooperation of the four rulers with confusion. What's gotten into them? Did they eat something weird? Thunder Boy remarked in surprise. Little Thunder, shouldn't we stop them? Fire Boy asked. Let's wait and see. They're preoccupied with the events outside, but we're in no hurry. Even if the outside world crumbles, this lesser thousand world will remain the last refuge. After all, it was the first world created by our Lord, Thunder Boy replied. That makes sense, Fire Boy nodded. His gaze then shifted to the wheat continent below before he vanished from his position. Thunder Boy, seeing this, also disappeared from the sky. Meanwhile, in front of the colossal statue of an old man on the wheat continent, Xiao Yan sat cross-legged in silence. As the manipulated rules governing him were restored, the overwhelming surge of power he had experienced returned to its original state. This was the strength he had always possessed. Buzz. Before Xiao Yan, two figures materialized in the form of light and shadow, Thunder Boy and Fire Boy. Having witnessed the four rulers cease their conflict and prepare to leave, they had returned to check on Xiao Yan. Previously, Fire Boy had promised to let Xiao Yan stay here for 3 days, a duration equal to 3 days in the outside world. However, time was now distorted. While only 10 minutes had passed here, 2 years had elapsed outside. By this calculation, if Xiao Yan remained here for 3 days, thousands of years might pass in the outside world. Send him out as well, Thunder Boy suggested. All right, Fire Boy agreed with a nod. Swish. Just as Thunder Boy and Fire Boy prepared to send Xiao Yan back to the Great Thousand Worlds, a ring of gray light swept across the sky. The confinement rules set by Thunder and Fire were undone. Seeing this, the Demon Ancestor and the Slaughter Ancestor wasted no time. They used their rule modification abilities to transfer themselves to the extraterritorial world, escaping the Lesser Thousand Worlds. Before leaving, the Slaughter Ancestor cast a final glance at Xiao Yan below. As of now, roughly 11 minutes had passed since the evil ancestor altered the rules of time. This equated to approximately 2 years and 2 months in the outside world. After the departure of the 3 extraterritorial rulers, the primordial divine ancestor and the ancestor of 10,000 spirits also prepared to leave. However, the ancestor of 10,000 spirits made a detour to where Thunder Boy and Fire Boy stood on the Wheat Continent. The ancestor of 10,000 spirits flicked a finger, sending a fiery red flame in the shape of a true phoenix toward Fire Boy. The flame exuded not only an immortal aura, but also the destructive power to incinerate all things. This was none other than the true phoenix flame, ranked 6th on the 100 million flames ranking and the strongest flame of divine beasts. Though this was only a subflame, it was comparable to the top 15 heavenly flames. As Fire Boy observed the true phoenix flame approaching him, a look of delight spread across his face. This flame surpassed the one Xiao Yan had just provided him. Its flavor must be amazing, he mused. This is compensation for the trouble caused to your Lesser Thousand World, the ancestor of 10,000 spirits said to Fire Boy. And what about me? Does only Little Fire get something? That's not fair, Thunder Boy interjected. Little Thunder, didn't you lecture me last time about not taking their things? Fire Boy retorted, seizing the opportunity. I didn't get anything last time, but you keep getting stuff. How is that fair? Thunder Boy grumbled. Fine. If you want something, take this. Descending from the sky was the primordial divine ancestor, holding a small white thunder dragon coiled around his hand. Despite its diminutive size, the dragon emanated an overwhelming presence, as if its roar could shake the heavens. This was none other than the primordial King Thunder, the clan-guarding King Thunder of the Great God Clan, ranked 5th in the Great Thousand Heavenly Thunder Codex. With a flick of his finger, the primordial divine ancestor sent the primordial King Thunder's seed to Thunder Boy, who caught it with satisfaction. Now that's more like it. Not like those 3 from the extraterritorial world who ran off. Next time they dare to come, I'll chase them to their base, Thunder Boy declared. The ancestor of 10,000 spirits turned to Xiao Yan and said, he was brought here by the primordial divine ancestor. Let us take him back. At that moment, Fire Boy reached into the true phoenix flame, extracting its core and compressing it into a fiery nucleus. He then sent it into Xiao Yan's body. I only enjoy the outer layers. The core doesn't taste good. Might as well give it to him instead of wasting it, Fire Boy said casually. The ancestor of 10,000 spirits and the primordial divine ancestor shared a faint smile before activating a rule to send Xiao Yan back to the world of the Do domain. With a flash, Xiao Yan vanished. However, as the primordial divine ancestor observed his departure, a glimmer of realization crossed his face, and he muttered with a knowing smile, so that's how it is. Upon his return to the world of the Do domain, Xiao Yan's consciousness was consumed by a sense of overwhelming power and opportunity. The extraterritorial evil clan launched a tentative attack on the Great Thousand Worlds. Xiao Yan was slightly startled upon hearing what Long Yuan had said. He became even more surprised when he learned that the forces sent to resist the extraterritorial evil clan included those from the land of 10,000 graves, the Heavenly Palace, and even the Maha-Divine clan of the Primordial Divine Clan. From this lineup, Xiao Yan could already estimate the scale of the confrontation. this matter didn't cause a major commotion in the Great Thousand Worlds? Xiao Yan asked. The battle took place at the edges of the Great Thousand Worlds, in the blast membrane region. That region has one of the most stable spaces in the entire Great Thousand Worlds. Although the battlefield extended billions of miles within the blast membrane region, the energy fluctuations that escaped from there were extremely weak. Furthermore, the region is desolate and uninhabited. Other than us heavenly supreme-level beings sensing minor spatial tremors, no one else noticed anything. And beings at the heavenly supreme level have immense composure regarding such matters. Unless instructed by the primordial divine ancestor or the ancestor of 10,000 spirits, they wouldn't spread news of such events carelessly, Long Yuan explained. However, this event likely heightened the vigilance of the lower dimension alliances and the primordial divine ancestor, as well as the ancestor of 10,000 spirits. Therefore, the extraterritorial clan probably won't launch another assault on the Great Thousand Worlds for the next few decades or so. What was the outcome of that battle? Xiao Yan asked again. I'm not sure, but since the battlefield hasn't expanded, the extraterritorial evil clan must have been blocked at the edges of the region, failing to achieve their goals. Of course, as I mentioned before, this might have been a mere probing attack, so perhaps they never intended to escalate the battle, Long Yuan said. So, the two sides might still be at a stalemate on that battlefield? Xiao Yan asked. That's possible. Honestly, I want to visit the blast membrane region myself. I couldn't before because I was tied up dealing with the matters of the Do domain world. Now that you're back and can take over, I may head there for a visit. In such matters, we heavenly supreme level beings have a responsibility, Long Yuan said. Hearing this, Xiao Yan nodded. He understood that beings like Long Yuan, at the heavenly supreme level, were the pillars of the Great Thousand Worlds. If the extraterritorial evil clan launched a second war against the Great Thousand Worlds, it would be these heavenly supreme level beings who would bear the brunt of the battle and significantly influence the outcome. At this thought, Xiao Yan remembered something. Senior Long Yuan, may I ask what stage your current strength is at within the heavenly supreme level? Xiao Yan inquired. Long Yuan was momentarily stunned by Xiao Yan's question before responding. I stepped into the lower heavenly supreme stage 2,000 years ago, but my progress has been very slow since then. I suspect it's due to the limits of my bloodline. Right now, I'm in the mid-range of the lower heavenly supreme stage, still far from the upper heavenly supreme level. I see, Xiao Yan murmured, confirming a calculation in his mind. He then said, in that case, Senior Long Yuan, may I trouble you to unleash your full power? What are you planning to do? Long Yuan and everyone present looked at Xiao Yan with confusion at this odd request. Xiao Yan, however, simply smiled faintly. Seeing this, although Long Yuan didn't understand Xiao Yan's intentions, he chose to comply. Before unleashing his full power, Long Yuan waved his sleeve, creating a protective barrier of immense spiritual energy above Kai Lin and the others. The barrier was so robust that even a perfected Earth Supreme would struggle to break it. Long Yuan had done this to shield Kai Lin and the others from the pressure of his aura, as the difference between a heavenly supreme and someone at the quasi-Earth Supreme level, like Kai Lin, was simply insurmountable. After completing these preparations, Long Yuan's expression turned sharp. A terrifying aura, far beyond Kai Lin and the others' expectations, surged across the entire Do domain world. The sheer power of this aura destabilized the already secured space within millions of miles, nearly bringing it to the brink of collapse. Xiao Yan, enveloped in this aura, narrowed his eyes slightly. As the Lord of Dimensions, he could feel that the Do domain, under his control, had almost fallen into Long Yuan's grasp in an instant. The power of a heavenly supreme was truly unfathomable, capable of annihilating an entire lower dimension with ease. After releasing his full strength, Long Yuan turned his gaze to Xiao Yan, curious about what he intended to do. Under his watchful eyes, Xiao Yan began to stretch, cracking his joints audibly. As he stretched, Xiao Yan noticed that his body had grown much stronger than before. It felt as if the physical bottleneck he had previously encountered had vanished. Then, an overwhelming aura, vast as an endless ocean and accompanied by a divine pressure, radiated from Xiao Yan. The sheer force of this power caused magma within millions of miles to cool and solidify rapidly, as if its heat had been directly absorbed by Xiao Yan. The aura emanating from Xiao Yan was no longer that of a lower Earth Supreme. It surpassed even an upper Earth Supreme and a perfected Earth Supreme, drawing close to the heavenly Supreme level. This level of strength in just 2.5 years? Long Yuan, Kai Lin, and the others were stunned. Xiao Yan had been in the Lesser Thousand Worlds for only a short period. According to his own words, he had spent just 2 or 3 days there, along with about half a month since his return. In total, less than 20 days had passed. Yet, his strength had grown to this extent. As they marveled, Xiao Yan assessed his power in comparison to Long Yuan's. In the Do domain world, Xiao Yan's energy felt like a chicken egg compared to Long Yuan's goose egg. The difference was slightly over a factor of 2. Xiao Yan concluded that his current strength was at the quasi-heavenly supreme level. If he used his self-created supreme Dharmakaya, he was confident that no one below the heavenly supreme level could defeat him. With his full strength activated, Xiao Yan raised his hand. A dazzling imperial flame erupted, far hotter and more potent than before, with energy that had increased tenfold. This flame contained myriad powers. The devouring power of heaven and earth, the life-nurturing power of creation, the purifying power of annihilation, the chilling power of frost, and the domineering power of a flame emperor. Over 30 attributes fused within this imperial flame, leaving Xiao Yan highly satisfied. However, Xiao Yan soon noticed an unfamiliar flame within his imperial flame. This flame surpassed the flame of all living beings in immortality, matched the companion flame in heat, and exceeded the pure lotus demon flame in purification. Startled, Xiao Yan quickly separated it from his imperial flame. The flame materialized as a divine beast flame resembling a true phoenix. As it emerged, its terrifying heat melted the previously solidified magma into a sea of fire once more. Xiao Yan immediately recognized it as the 6th-ranked flame on the 100 million flames ranking, the true phoenix flame. However, he deduced that this was merely a subflame, as the true flame was far more powerful.